You're listening to the SEO Mindset podcast. Now, we are not your typical how to do SEO podcast. No, we are not. With the help of our guests, we cover those all-important topics around career development, personal growth, and mental health for those working in the SEO industry. You got to be working on your own internal algorithm. Like what we did there. So if you like the sound of our podcast and you think this is a bit of me, shall we crack on with this week's episode? Well, hello there, and a very, very warm welcome to another episode of the SEO Mindset podcast, where your hosts are myself, Sarah McDowell, and the ever so fabulous Zen Queen, that is Tasman Cinnamon, with episodes going out every single Thursday. Don't say we do not treat you. We give you content every single Thursday. This week, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Matt Kohli. Who is Matt? Matt is the founder of Fortitude Marketing. With experience working in-house at agencies and as a freelancer, Matt has built a robust network of specialists across various marketing channels. Driven by a long-standing dream of running his own business, Matt launched Fortitude Marketing to bring together expertise, passion, and purpose. So that's a bit about Matt. What about this week's episode? Why do you need to carry on listening? It's a corker of an episode, a corker, because we're talking accountability. I know it's a scary word, but we talk about how we can have accountability for ourselves through setting certain standards and guidelines that we can follow to make sure the work that we're producing is of a high standard. We're producing content that we're proud of. Now, this is really important if you have your own business or you're a freelancer, but it's as important if you are employed, right? Because everyone needs a set of standards. Everyone needs guidelines that they can sort of follow or reference to make sure that whatever they're working on is always going to be of a standard that they can be proud of. So it's a great episode and I really can't wait for you to listen. Before I play you this week's episode, just a reminder of how you can support us. You can give us a one-off donation and we'd be very much appreciative. So obviously there are certain costs involved in having a podcast, and by you supporting and giving us a financial donation towards that, you're helping us out there massively. Also, help us share the podcast. Help us get the podcast out there to as many people as we can. So the next time you're listening to an episode and you think, such and such would really enjoy it, why not share the episode with them? That's enough from me. I am going to play the episode. I hope you enjoy. Hello, and a very warm welcome to Matt.
Hey Sarah, thank you for having me on.
So for our listeners, whereabouts in the world are you?
So I'm based in Milton Keynes, and it has been sunny up until today. It's a little bit miserable all of a sudden, which I don't mind. I think I can actually handle the heat over the last few weeks, so it's probably a nice little break. But just about 40 minutes outside of London for those that aren't UK based.
And there is fun facts about Milton Keynes, because Milton Keynes was set up as a commuter's town, wasn't it, for London? There is an obscene amount of roundabouts, for one.
There's a lot, yeah.
There's a lot. And also, you have concrete cows.
We do. Yeah, you're very well informed. So there are tons of roundabouts, and everybody finds it so weird when they come to Milton Keynes and they have to drive here. But imagine what it's like for somebody from Milton Keynes going to anywhere else in the world. Like, you guys think it's difficult the one time you come here. It's difficult for me when I go anywhere. But I actually think that our system makes a lot of sense. It's like a logical grid. So,
yeah,
that's
makes
me fighting
sense.
for Milton Keynes there.
Do you know why I know the Milton Keynes? Sorry, I'm going to say that again. Do you know why I know the fact about the cows, the concrete cows?
No.
It'd be really weird if you were like, actually, Sarah, yes, I do. I can get into your brain right now. But the reason I know about the concrete cows is from my roller derby days. So in roller derby, team names are based on their location. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, for example, the team in Manchester is called Rainy City because it always rains in Manchester. The team that I was part of was in Leicester, and we were called Leicester Dolly Rockets. Now, that's a little bit out of the box because it was rockets because of the Space Centre in Leicester.
Right. Okay.
The team in Milton Keynes is called Concrete Cows.
Concrete cow. You got rockets, and Milton Keynes got concrete cows. That just sums it up, doesn't it?
Hey, don't hate Leicester for being famous for our space centre.
Yeah. No, I can't argue with that. To be fair.
So, Matt, we are not here, unfortunately, to give our listeners the culture and behind the scenes of Milton Keynes, are we? That's not what we're
Not
talking
today.
about.
No. No.
So, the topic of today is all about accountability and setting standards for founders. Yeah? So, founders of anything, business, agency, in the SEO space, whatever you've basically founded. So, to kick things off, would you say those two things are the same or they're similar and have crossover? So, is accountability and setting standards the same thing, or are they slightly different but they kind of overlap?
So they're two different things, but they definitely work hand in hand. I mean, accountability, I guess, in its like simplest like form, is doing what you said you're going to do, like holding yourself accountable to that. And when you're working for somebody, when you're working in a business, it's really easy to set up like a bit of an accountability framework. Like you'll normally have a manager, you'll normally have like company standards that you'll have to, abide to. But when you're a freelancer or you're running your own business, it's really hard to have that same kind of accountability in place. So that's kind of how I define accountability in a simple way. And then with setting standards, it's all about like the level of your work. And I guess a lot of that's like brand led. So, when I complete a task, I want somebody to know that it's a Fortitude marketing task. And there's certain steps that we go through. There's certain, ways that we deliver it and format it. So that's kind of like the setting standard side of things. And again, when you're working for somebody, those standards are normally laid out for you, and you just have to, work to that. So a lot of this, topic kind of came out of my own journey of, going into the freelance world, then launching my own agency, and not naturally, being very organized or on top of this stuff, not having any of this stuff in place, and then building it. And I kind of think that it's something that has been really valuable for me, but it was very difficult.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, isn't it, that once you've got it in place and you've got a system and you've got a process and you're looking after your accountability and you're setting standards, yes, it takes time in setting that up, but once you set it up, it probably saves you time and headaches in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Matt, why would you say that accountability and setting standards is crucial? It's essential rather than a nice to have.
Yeah, I think for me, like I've never been a very naturally organized person, and I needed to have some kind of framework in place just to make sure that I actually got stuff done. Because it was super easy. I mean, when I was first freelancing, I didn't have a lot of work. Obviously, first couple of months, I was just building it up. So when I only had like two clients and a couple of agency support projects, it was really easy for me to kind of manage that without needing any kind of like structure in place. But then as soon as it started to scale, and especially when I started the agency, like I had to have some kind of framework in place. So yeah, I mean, accountability for me, it means deciding literally the list of tasks that I'm going to be getting through, the tasks that I'm going to be doing for my own business, and then actually getting it done. So reviewing the progress on that, and then setting standards. It's all about maintaining the quality of work that I want to be hitting. So again, it's super easy when you don't have like any kind of framework in place for that either. It's really easy when you're tired or like when motivation dips to kind of drop that level. But if you've got something that you always refer back to, even if it's just like a little guidelines doc that says, okay, this is the type of stuff that you need to be going through, this is, the presentation, then it makes sure that you always hit that.
And I'm guessing with these guidelines, when you put it together, nothing is set in stone. So
No.
it can be flexible. So you might put your first process document, or however you want to do it, you might put it together, and then actually when you're implementing it and you're going through life and you're going through your job, you might find tweaks that you want to do, or you might find things that don't make sense, or things that don't quite work. So I suppose it's really important to get this done so you've got something that you can follow. But would you say treat it as a guideline and treat it as something that needs to be flexible, because we can always be improving, we can always be developing?
Yeah, no, 100%. You don't want to trap yourself in something. I mean, a lot of people leave traditional employment for that exact reason. They don't want to be, bounded by like a really tight kind of framework. I literally, my accountability sheets are really simple, like bullet point lists. So it'll be plan your schedule for the week, or plan your schedule for the next couple of weeks, and then it'll be, on this day, check in on things. So it's just like, it's kind of like a reminder to do like the overarching things. In terms of like specific tasks, I use like Trello. So I map out like tasks that I'm working on there. And I also like put like little reminders in my calendar. But this accountability kind of guideline thing, it's literally like the top level, like, hey, remember to do this. And likewise with the standard setting like guidelines, it's very much like, remember that we always like, proof check this part of it. Remember that we always present it like this.
And I suppose as well, if there is something that you're never getting around to, or something that you can't do, then that's potentially like a little nudge, or a little sort of,
Yeah.
oh, we need to look at this because this is what we should be doing, but why is it that we're not doing it? Is it because we're not being realistic with time? Is it because we're not being realistic with clients? So it also gives you the space and time to be able to reevaluate and check your processes as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it kind of forces you to look inward sometimes. And I think the hardest part was, as a freelancer, it was like building up my personal brand, like dedicating time to that in the same way that I would to client work. And then likewise with the agency. So like, I didn't think that, there'd be that much more to do. I went into it extremely naively. I kind of thought, oh, it'd be nice to be able to work across these other areas, which I'm already technically doing with the team that I built up. I just want to signpost it a bit more clearly. And then, as soon as things launched, I was, obviously, well, actually in the process of launching, I was reviewing different competitors and people that have been around in the game for a long time. And I was like, right, okay, there's about 15 other things that all these guys are doing regularly, like day to day. And it was pretty overwhelming at first. So that's why like having one of these docs to come back to that actually broke it down into like bite-sized chunks made it way more realistic. So it'd be like, okay, yeah, like these really established agencies are doing these 15 things, but just to get started, make sure that you're doing
Mm.
3 things per week. And then when that becomes a part of my regular routine, I start to like add other stuff into the mix. I like gradually build it up.
And I just want to draw on two things that you've said there. And we've addressed this on previous episodes, that if a task or a project or something feels too overwhelming or too big, of course you're never going to start it, because
Yeah.
you're just going to always find a reason, always going to come up with excuses. So it's so important to chunk it down, make it bite size, like, okay, what is the minimal viable product for this thing? And then you start small and then you build up. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, getting sort of inspiration by other people. So people that you look up to, whether that is an individual, whether that's a company, whether that's a brand.
Yeah.
Definitely it's really good to not just be influenced by them, but also be like, okay, how can I do one better?
No, exactly. And I think like definitely when it comes to like breaking down the tasks, a lot of the time if you're like the agency, or if you're the freelancer, like like you're a decision maker in that business, then you're deciding how these tasks are structured. Like we sometimes, to make it impressive, like people over the years have like sold in these massive orders and these massive tasks. You can sell it in as sprints and not put the pressure on yourself. You could be like, okay, yeah, this is phase one. This is the first part of the website that we're looking at. This is phase two, and like you can break it down like that, because even like the stuff that you speak out, like I know that sounds really philosophical, but like if you turn it into this massive thing, you promise to the client this massive deliverable, then even if you try to break it down internally, it can still be quite difficult when you've got that like looming over you. So if you just do that from the get-go, then I find that it definitely helps out. You can give them
Definitely.
like a big picture view as well. You can say this is what the ultimate goal is, but we're going to be doing it step by step. And then, yeah, in terms of drawing inspiration, I mean, something that's been massively helpful with all of this stuff, so accountability, setting standards, has been, building up like a decent like group of mentors. So reaching out to old managers of mine, or other freelancers or agency owners that have been in the space for a long time, and just asking them to like hop on for a
Mm.
call, or like letting me buy them a coffee type thing. And it really surprised me how many people were just happy to do that, and that's made a massive difference, because obviously it is good to see what competitors are doing online and to look at their posts on LinkedIn, to look at their sites and stuff, but that only gives you half of the picture. When you
Yes.
speak to people that have really been in it, they can give you a more honest kind of breakdown, and it also helps you, realize sometimes I'm not doing terribly because I'm not doing those 15 things that person's posting about. Like, this is actually the reality of it, and things are going pretty well.
You've made such a good point there. And yeah, like you said, there's been times where I've reached out to other people because I need to pick their brain or I want to ask their advice. And most of the time, people are willing, because most of the
Yep.
time, people are decent human beings who want to help others. And actually, it's a nice little ego boost for them, isn't it? Because they're like, oh, someone's coming to me for advice. Oh,
No,
that's nice.
exactly.
And especially if they're getting a free cup of coffee or free lunch out of it, why wouldn't they? So, yeah, it's getting out of your head and being like, oh, no, I can't possibly ask because that's far too cheeky. You don't ask, you don't get in life. Right, Matt. We are coming to our halfway point.
Okay.
So, what I think, and we've covered so much, and I've very much enjoyed our conversation so far. And I think we've really laid it out, made it clear to our listeners. And I'm straight away thinking, oh, okay, how do I do this? So, in all of our episodes, we like to give people practical tips, practical advice. So, that's what I
Yeah.
suggest that we do in part 2.
Okay. Sounds good.
But before we take that short break, so people can digest this information and have a little coffee break or tea break, what is the main takeaway from this section, or one last nugget, one last thing that you want to say before we end?
Yeah, I guess one clear takeaway would be to put some kind of plan in place for your schedule. I'd say that was like step one. So, it was just figuring out how I could break down all of the stuff that I was working on. And the easiest way to do that was just to write it out in a simple
Write it
way.
out. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Get that pen, get that notebook, or if you're
Yeah,
digital,
exactly.
scribble it out. Get whatever is in your brain. I love that. Right, Matt, let's take that short break. Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. Their services include photography, consultancy, and social media management. Clear Narrative Media is here to transport your visions to life. They are on a mission to help you to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance your business and professional growth overall. For more information, head over to their website at cnmedia.com or follow the link in the show notes. Sarah here, just quickly popping on to let you know about how you can support the podcast, how you can support me and Tasmin. So first things first, we are set up on Buy Me a Coffee, which means you can give us a one-off donation. Thank you to everyone who has done that already. If you fancy doing that, the link is in the show notes and we'd be very much appreciative. And another way is help us spread the word. Get more people to know about the podcast. Tell your colleagues, friends, loved ones, hey, even your pets. next time you're listening to an episode and you think someone would really love it, find the link and why not share it with them?
Hi, Tasmin here. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Be more visible, earn more, but also take care of your well-being and have work-life harmony? Well, I can help you because I'm offering you a free 30-minute consultancy call. Together we can go through where you want to be and how to get there. Simply click on the link in the show notes, fill in a form, and I'll get back to you.
Welcome back to part 2. Matt, are you still with us?
I am, just about.
Just So we said, we teased, didn't we? We teased that part 2, we would be really practical. We'd give our listeners wonderful, practical things that they could implement. And you've already teased some ideas and teased some tips. But if I was to say to you, those listeners who are like, do you know what? Matt is right here. I need to get my accountability sorted. I need to set some standards. What would you recommend the top 3 things that they should do today from listening to this episode?
Okay, no pressure. I mean, I think if I was like starting on this journey again, I've tried many different things and I had to simplify it. I'd probably say the 3 things would be to, number 1, start tracking your work. So as part of that, pick a task tracking tool. I use Trello, but you could use Asana, you could use Notion, or even a notebook if you wanted to write it out. In there, list out all your current projects, break them down into, smaller tasks, like we said, and add realistic deadlines. So that's like, I would say that's like the first kind of step. Then the second thing is to set simple standards. So, just internally, even if you don't communicate it with clients straight away, but just for you and the people that you're working with, things like, I'll reply to clients within 24 hours. Every piece of work will be double checked before sending. Write them down somewhere visible. Like you could even have them on like a whiteboard in front of your desk. Remember, I think that's quite a good one. And then number 3 would be to create maybe one task template. So something that you do quite a lot. So it could be, proposals. It could be a report. So create a basic template that you can reuse every time. So I think, yeah, that's probably like the foundations because, you would just replicate that on like a larger scale. So, you'd set more standards, you'd create more templates across different tasks that you're working on, and you'd probably add more tasks to your task tracking.
So just to reconfirm those 3 things, so track work and set realistic deadlines.
Yeah.
Start setting simple standards.
Yeah.
And start creating templates for the different projects, work, campaigns that you're working on. My question to you is, you said about when you set simple standards, you don't necessarily have to communicate that straight away with the clients, but do you think it's important to communicate that with your clients? Is that important?
So I think it depends what the standard is. So like if I'm like thinking like right at the start, like I want to make sure I'm holding myself accountable, less so, I'm trying to let my clients hold me more accountable. So like I'm thinking like I just need to make sure that I'm on top of everything. So to keep on top of everything, I will personally reply to everything within 24 hours. I think if you share information like that with clients and something happens in between, then it in some cases can be misleading. But with other things, like I think once your standards are a bit more established and you've been doing it for a decent chunk of time and you know for a fact that you can hit everything that's in your list, then as like an extra value add, I feel like in proposals or in kickoff conversations, when you're talking about the ways of working, that's when you can say, these are our standards. And I think it is really good to have that in place. Like, so definitely, yeah, like long term, I think definitely you're going to want to share that with your client because I think it just puts you at a different level.
And actually, if I think about this, people have their own expectations, don't they? So for example, if I receive an email, as long as I respond within 48 hours,
yeah,
that seems reasonable to me. However, other people might have different expectations. They might expect a reply within, I don't know, 12 hours. They might expect an hour in 3 days. So what you've got to remember is we're all different. We've all got our own learnings, experience and habits from working. So if you clear that up and if you let clients know, any email, any message that I any message or any email that I receive, I will endeavour to answer within this time period. It takes away the ambiguity. Why did I go for a big word that I can't say? Thank you. As soon as I committed to that word, I was like, Sarah, what are you doing?
The fear in your eyes as soon as you started saying it. You're like, Amber. Well, I've done the exact same thing. I'm sure I'm going to do it at some point on this. So as long as we edit it out, my one.
And another important thing is where relationships break down or where there's issues, it always comes down to a lack of communication.
Definitely.
That's what you can boil it down to. Of course, lots of things can go wrong. We're in marketing. We're in SEO. Do you know what I mean? We're in digital marketing. Things don't always go to plan. Curveballs are thrown our way all the time. So, of course, there are things that are outside of our control, or there's going to be things that happen that aren't necessarily our fault per se. I'm a bit mindful of saying, because I don't ever want to get into the realms of, oh, that's your fault or that's your fault, because that's not how we should be thinking. But what I mean is that there is things that are going to happen that are completely out of your control that you wouldn't have foreseen or you can't control. But 9 times out of 10, as long as you communicate with your client or whoever you're working with, as long as you communicate and you address it and you come up with a plan, that's going to work well in the future, and you're going to save so many battles or so many headaches. Because I get it, because it is sometimes scary if something happens and you're like, oh, I just want to bury my head. I just don't want to say anything. But actually, communication, everything comes down to communication.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, and I think like that's why definitely I agree with you. I think as a general rule, you do want to share this with your clients. I'm more thinking in the first phase of it, you just got to decide what standards you can realistically hit. But you're right. As soon as you have those in place, I think definitely communicating it, because with a couple of caveats as well, like you said, just saying to them, if anything happens, as you know, then it's going to be a bit more difficult to to reply to your message if I'm in hospital or something. But just having that stuff in place, I think it is a really big it is a really helpful thing to have, because if, for example, you just don't have those conversations at the beginning, then they may be getting annoyed about stuff that they wouldn't be getting annoyed about if you just had that conversation.
Exactly. And there's things that you can nip in the bud, because things escalate when things go under the surface and they're not communicated. So that one person could be getting more and more frustrated as it goes along, and all it was because they had a different expectation to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could have nipped that in the bud and dealt with that sooner, rather than it escalating into this massive thing that didn't even need to happen.
Yeah, and I think that was definitely something that I struggled with when I first went freelance. I was a yes man. I kind of wanted to, I just wanted to do everything that everybody was asking me to do, because I thought that's the best way to get work and to not lose work. And I definitely struggled with that. And it all comes back to this setting standards, accountability. I didn't have any standards. I was kind of just doing whatever everybody asked me to do. And then you end up having no time available. You end up, having worse relationships with your clients, because you've built up this expectation that you're going to reply to things in 10 minutes or something crazy. And then when you don't reply for a day, then it feels completely different. So that was definitely a learning curve. And I think if people can, when they're stepping into freelance or they're launching their own business, if people can, factor that in from the get-go, that's going to make a massive difference.
And I'm definitely, I have sent an email late at night, and I have definitely sent an email at the weekends, but that is something else as well. And something that I recently did was I think I had to send an email at the weekend or late at night, because I just had to. There was no way around it, but I made sure to caveat it and say, I know it's late at night. I know that I don't usually send emails at the weekend, or I know that Do you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
always good to caveat that sort of thing, isn't it? Because you don't want to set yourself up with unrealistic expectations. And also, it massively helps with scope creep as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So where you agree to one thing, and because you haven't got it set out, these standards, these accountability, or whatever that the client can expect, it's much easier for that client to ask more and more and more.
Yeah.
And you realize that you're doing 10 things for like the price of one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
this is it. Like, and it happens so much because you'll have like, in your like pitch or, when you're onboarding, you'll have that conversation and you'll be like, yeah, so these are the expectations. Like, I'll be able to come back to you in X amount of time and I'm not going to be doing more than this. Like, this is what's included. But if you don't have something clear to refer back to, then,
yes.
like you say, like through time, if you are, I guess if you are early in your journey and you're like I was, and you're like, okay, well, I'm happy to go a bit above and beyond, and you start building that up and up and up, and then like, you get to like month 6, you don't have anything clear to refer back to. So there's no evidence that you guys agreed something completely different to what you're doing now. And you are just in that tricky position where you basically have to go back to the client and say, this stuff I've been doing for you for the last 6 months is, more than what you're paying for. And then that never works well because because they're like, why would we pay you the same amount for less work? And I'm like, well, it's kind of what we agreed at the beginning. So yeah, again, just having that stuff in place, it's such a game changer.
Definitely. And it also enables you to look out for potential red flags with clients as well,
Yeah.
because not every client is going to be right for you. Not every client is going to be the right fit. Not every client is going to have realistic expectations, are they? So having these in place also helps you have that red flag check-in. Right, Matt, we are out of time. Hasn't
no.
that gone fast? Time flies when you're having fun. But there are 3 questions that we ask all of our guests.
Okay. I'm scared.
Please don't be. They're fine. So, first one, your main takeaway from today's episode. That one key thing that you want our listeners to take away and learn or implement, whatever that is. What is the main takeaway?
Okay, so it's going to be a little bit repetitive because it's probably coming back to those 3 points. I would say the first thing that I would do is to set really simple standards.
Yeah.
So just have something in place. And, even if it's like a list of bullets that only you refer to, and then it evolves into something that you share with clients, like having something that basically says, okay, this is our ways of working, how we communicate, this is the standard of work that we're planning to deliver, and here are some goals. Like that type of thing, I think is really good just to have.
Definitely. And you've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, just by jotting it down, you're because that's easy to do, isn't it? Because I'm guessing most SEOs are going to have multiple screens in front of them.
Oh yeah.
So what you could do is
so.
have. I've only got 2, and I wish I had more. I want like a whole wall.
I don't have like a fancy setup.
I want like 4 screens one day, I think. But anyway. But you could have this note up, or you could have it physically here. And as you're working through stuff, or as you're doing things, or the next time you put a contract together, you can easily just be adding to it. And before you know it, you've got a whole set of guidelines that you can just polish up. And you know what? Use ChatGPT. Say, here are some notes. Make this into a more formal document. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, this is it. And sometimes it's quite hard to like know how to like write all that stuff down or like to even like format it. So like ChatGPT can be super helpful. I mean, I'll like go on the voice chat and I'll just brain dump and then I'll be like, help me organize all of this. And that's kind of how it started.
Nice. And okay, that was the first question. Easy. You sailed through it.
Very good.
Second question is best career advice.
Okay, I think the best career advice is to probably not be so hard on yourself, especially when you're a solopreneur or a business owner. I think it's really easy to like be obsessed with the grind that you see on like LinkedIn and everywhere else. And there are definitely more people now that recognize the importance of like taking care of yourself, but it's still super easy to ignore all of that and to like go down the other route. So I think that like as part of these standards, as part of these like guidelines that you set for yourself, like check in every so often.
Definitely. We'd say it time and time again on the podcast, be kinder to yourself.
Exactly.
Be kinder to yourself. If you wouldn't say something to a loved one, a friend, a colleague, why are you saying it to yourself?
Yeah. Exactly.
I love that. And a very good reminder. And the last question, Matt, is someone awesome to follow in the community.
Okay, so he's probably getting tired of this at this point because everywhere I go, I recommend him. But I'm going to give Ray Sadiq a shout out here because I think that he's really good at what he does. He kind of like walks a line between traditional SEO, social, and I guess just search as like a broader discipline now. So across all areas. So he's posting fairly regularly, and all of his stuff is interesting. And keep in touch with what he's up to.
He's definitely one of those good eggs because I follow him on social and he's always posting nuggets. He's always sharing interesting insights, like things that he's doing. And I've had the pleasure of meeting him in person a couple of times, and he's always super lovely, super chatty, super friendly. So he's one of those good eggs because he's knowledgeable and he shares his knowledge, but he's just a delightful human being.
Yeah, and it always helps when somebody's actually nice.
I'm sure, going back to your point earlier about if you want to pick someone's brain, offer to buy them a coffee. I mean, I don't want to flood Ray's inbox with a load of requests now, but Ray could be one of those people that you reach out to and be like, hey, really love the stuff.
To reach out to, but again, I'm very cautious about sending loads of people his way. I think that like you can kind of get like a bit of a mentorship experience just from looking at his content, but I mean, he's not the kind of person that would turn anybody away, and he's always got interesting stuff to say. So by all means, those are the kind of people that would be great to identify in whatever kind of channel that you're working in.
Yes, definitely. Wonderful. Well, Matt, I'm very sorry. I could chat to you for another hour, even 2 hours, but we are going to have to end. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, chatting with me and imparting all your wonderful wisdom and knowledge to our listeners. Of course, we'll make sure that your bio and links are in the show notes, but where are you mainly? Where would you recommend people?
I'm mainly on LinkedIn. So if people want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, more than happy to chat through any of this stuff. It's always good to chat to new people.
Lovely stuff. Make sure to follow Matt on LinkedIn and also go to the show notes and find other ways that you could follow him as well. And the only thing left for me to say is thank you for tuning in to another episode of the SEO Mindset podcast. If you enjoy what me and Tasman are doing, a reminder of how you can support us. One massive thing is you can give us a one-off donation. So we are set up on Buy Me a Coffee, which allows you to give us a one-off donation. And again, link in the show notes to do that. Massive shout out to everyone who has done that because, of course, we love doing the podcast, but it takes time, resource, money, right? So getting one-off donations helps us in that area. And another way that you can support us is to share. So if you've been listening to today's episode and you've thought, crikey, Matt is a knowledgeable human being. Loads of people need to listen to what he has to say, because I agree. Find a link, wherever you're listening to this podcast, find the link and share it with your friend, colleague, family, whoever you think needs to listen to it. And that's it. That's a wrap. So until next time, take care of yourself and yes, get implementing what Matt has discussed today.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Looking to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance growth for your business, organization, or yourself? Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media and marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. You can find them on all social media platforms and online at cnmediaa.com or follow the link in the show notes.